accompanied him to the meeting. The cult leader turns out to be Jan from the dream world. He reveals his plan to put all his followers into a coma, his version of heaven. Victor refuses but unsuccessfully tried to escape. This resulted in both him and his girlfriend being put into the coma world. After Victor wakes up, we see that Jan has woken up as well. He threatens Victor that if he doesn't build the island like they agreed, he would kill everyone on the hospital beds. Forced with little option, the main protagonist goes back into the dream world once again, but this time he was given a medicine which boosts his powers. Victor saves the group right before a Reaper can get to them, and brings them to the place where they're supposed to build the island. Victor tells them the truth about this world, how it's only a dream and their real bodies are in fact lying on a hospital bed. Jan arrives as well and is disappointed at Victor for revealing the secrets. He demands the architect to construct this island like they agreed. Victor closes his eyes and begins to draw out his plans. As we see, a futuristic city emerges. The architect manages to deliver his deal, but Jan betrays them and plans to kill all of them. He claims that no one who knows the truth about heaven can exist in heaven, since they would spoil it for the others. He also reveals his justification for this dream world, since many of the people in here have major disabilities in the real world. He offers them a reality that is much better than the alternative. Jan's follower then unplugs the oxygen supply for everyone. We see that one by one, the teams are turned into ashes as their brains die out. Victor theorizes that the only way for them to wake up from this coma is to go into their dreams in this world. They rush back to the headquarters and enters Victor's dream portal. It becomes very hard for them to navigate here since the environment is not based on memories, but rather interpretations and imaginations. Nonetheless, they eventually find the correct location, the last bit of detail that Victor remembered before he passed out. A picture of Egypt that was hanging in front of his bed. However, the astronomer ran out of oxygen and died as well, leaving only the couple. As they walk forward, they realize Jan is here as well, waiting for them. A physical confrontation begins, but Victor is not strong enough. Just before Jan can make the finishing blow, a Reaper stabs him from the back. It turns out that the Reaper is in fact Phantom, who decides to help them out at the last moment. Before Victor wakes up, we see his girlfriend turn into ashes as well. He wakes up and immediately tries to resuscitate his girlfriend. Luckily, Victor manages to save her, and the two slowly makes their way out of the building. The other cult leader hesitates, but allows them to leave, presumably because they realize that Jan, their leader, is now brain dead. So what do you guys think about this movie? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like my videos, please press like and
надо уходить. Всем надо быстро уходить. Астроном! Возьми всех! Так, всем слушать меня! Бросаем тяжелые вещи! Сектор Востока живо! Астроном, уведи его! Эти пришли на манок.
Сзади!
Вот и все, бросай.
Туда!
Это я отправил вам конверт с предложением.
Ну, просто слухи разные ходят.
Ее ввели в кому всего на пару часов раньше тебя, а там прошли месяцы. Удивительно, правда?
Кто вообще такие?
Группа ученых, которые хотят подарить людям новый мир.
А как же духовное учение?
Ну, помогает финансировать проект. Мои исследования сочли бесперспективными, так что пришлось крутиться. Ну, а как сказал один мудрый человек, хочешь разбогатеть, создай свою религию. Ты знаешь, кстати, оказалось гораздо проще, чем я думал.
То есть мой проект города это...
А все эти люди нашли там новый смысл, новую жизнь. Да ты сам был почти счастлив там. Ты там великий архитектор. А что тебя ждет здесь? Дачные коттеджи, да? В лучшем случае.
Им всем, как мне сделали уколы.
Ну, так быстрее и лучше для них.
Может, надо было их спасить?
Пойми.
Так, все, я больше в этом не участвую. Просто отпустите нас, пожалуйста, и все.
От знания не удерживать. Очнешься опять у себя дома. Мозг притягивается к самым крепким воспоминаниям. На этот раз память восстановится гораздо быстрее. Найдешь астронома, точка строительства города отмечена у него в карте.
А если я не смогу дойти?
Сможешь. Этот стимулятор заставит твой мозг работать интенсивно. Бьет, конечно, по здоровью, зато ненадолго станешь суперменом.
Так что, а как они узнают, что нас нужно вывести из комы?
Никак. Ну, сам подумай, я же как-то вышел в этот раз. Спи. Страшнее архитектора. Твоя идея прекрасна. У тебя нет родственников, а единственного ребенка ты потеряла. Или пожизненное. Астроном, а у тебя аутизм. Ты даже не можешь выйти из дома. Бедные старые родители. А в раю не должно быть тех, кто знает тайну его создания. Это касается и вас. Теперь, когда вы все знаете, я не могу позволить вам жить в городе с остальными.
Да мы не...
Не пройдем.
Здесь была дверь и лестница. Здесь все не так! астроном?
Я был прав.
Конечно, прав. Астроном все-таки гений, куда бы мы без него. Память всегда сохраняет самое интересное для нас. А ты из всего запомнил храм на картине. Настоящий архитектор. Знаешь, я так хотел, чтобы ты оказался умнее остальных. Ты мне напомнил меня самого. Медицина бьется, чтобы продлить жизнь человека на 5 лет. А я смог продлить на 1000. И знаешь что? Мою кафедру свернули, чтобы профинансировать разработку нового средства от целлюлита. И я не понимал, как жить в мире, который устроен так нелепо, так уродливо, а потом понял. Есть другой мир. Я сам открыл его. Ну, как это я сомневался. Это ведь все иллюзия, сон. Я думал так, пока не сделал открытие. Все, чем мы живем. Все наши эмоции, счастье, радость, гнев, удивление, печаль. Это не более, чем электрические сигналы нашего мозга. Мы их измерили в коме и в реальности. И знаешь что? Они абсолютно одинаковые. Жизнь в коме так же реальна. Вот и все. Так просто.
Это наш sleep fly.
Мы идем домой. Мы идем домой.
That the soul moves freely at the time of sleep. You know, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compares sleep to maut, it is a minor death. Every time you go to sleep, you are saying, Bismika Allahumma amutu wa ahya. In your name, O Allah, I die and I am given life. You wake up in the morning, Alhamdulillah alladhi ahyana ba'dama amatana. Right? All praises be to the one who gave us life after He took our souls, after death. So every night you're going to sleep, there is death. Your soul travels. It moves freely during sleep and it meets with the souls of others. And so Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala says that while you are asleep, it may be that your soul would meet the soul of your loved one. Remember, we're not limited by the dimensions of this dunya at the time of sleep. And so a person might see a dead person and the dead may give them nasiha, might give them advice. The dead might comfort them, right? To let them know that I'm okay, that everything is good, alhamdulillah. They might see their dead loved ones in a place of al-Jannah or where, something really good happening with them. And the soul will comfort the soul of the living to say that I'm okay, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. It might be that the dead asks the one who is alive to go and pay off a debt. Maybe they weren't aware of it. Remember, we talked about the first thing that you do for those that have passed away. So, go to this person and pay off a debt, or go seek forgiveness from this person because I hurt that person. SubhanAllah, someone in my own family, passed away in Hajj, and this was years ago. And passing away in Hajj is a form of shahada. But when he passed away, his children all saw the same dream at night. They saw a dream of him, and I'm talking about numerous children, saw a dream of him asking them to go seek forgiveness from a very particular person. They all woke up and they all saw the same dream of him asking them to go seek forgiveness from a particular person. They did so, they went to that person, and then they saw a dream of him in Al-Jannah. As if to say, subhanAllah, hurting people and having those things can prevent even a righteous person, a person who dies the most ideal of death, from reaching their desired place with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So sometimes you might see a dream and your deceased one is telling you, go pay off that debt, go seek forgiveness from that person because I hurt that person. These are all things that we find narrated over and over and over again. And sometimes they might remind you of the hero.
He says that the souls move freely at the time of sleep. Every night you go to sleep, you're saying, Allahumma bismika amutu wa ahya. Meaning, oh Allah, with your name will I die and live. Wake up. You wake up in the morning, you say, Alhamdulillahi alladhi ahyana ba'da ma amatana wa ilayhi nushur. Praise is to Allah who gives us life after He has caused us to die, and to Him is the return. So every night you're going to sleep, there's death. Your soul travels. It moves freely during the sleep, and it meets with the souls of others. So Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah says that while you're asleep, it may be that your soul would meet the soul of your loved ones. And so a person might see a dead person, and the dead may give them advice. The dead might comfort them, to tell them, to let them not worry. I'm okay, that everything is good, alhamdulillah. They might see their loved ones in Al-Jannah, or something really good happening to them. And the soul will comfort the soul of the living. It might be the dead asks the one who is alive to go and pay off a debt. Maybe the one who have gone from this world can indeed be visited in the realm of the barzakh. For when we sleep, our soul temporarily can be connected with the souls in the barzakh. Therefore, then we see a loved one in a dream. It is very possible that it is an actual visitation between our two souls. True, one should not be based any action, much less ritual or worship, based on a dream. In Surah Zumar, where Allah says, it is Allah who takes away the souls at the time of their death, and those who do not die during their sleep, He keeps those souls for which He has ordained death, and sends the rest for a term appointed. Verily, in this are signs for people who think deeply. What we learn from this is that when we are dreaming, the soul leaves the body, just like it does when a person dies. The only difference is that when a person dies, then the soul's departure is permanent, whereas it is temporary in a dream. The Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, like you sleep, that is how you will die. And like you awake, that is how you will be resurrected. It is quite often that people meet those who have died many years before their dreams. Like Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, asserts, this is basically the meeting of the souls. Moreover, the normal concept of time is suspended during a dream. What this means is that what we see in a dream seems to have taken a huge amount of time, though in real time, it might have only been a short while. In a power nap, a lot seems to happen in our sleep, but it takes only a few minutes in real time. When we're sleeping in general, we lose concept of time, where we put someone in a darkened room and take away all forms of time telling, he would not know how long he has slept for. The Quran supports this idea. The people of the cave went to sleep. When they awoke, they were asked how long they were asleep for. They said perhaps a day or half a day. they had in fact been sleeping for 309 years.
With husband and wife, whoever it is, they want to stay for a long time, but we all know it's not too possible. And what I want to say to you, brothers and sisters, is that we think that when a person has gone from this world, it is death. We call it death. It is the cessation of life. It is the end of one's life, and they're gone. And the end of this body and this life is finished. Yet, when the Quran was revealed, it gave a new term, a whole total new term. When the Quran was revealed, the Quran, yes, did use the word maut, and it said everybody has to taste death. But it did not stop there. It said, Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. And then with that he added things on. It said, Yutawaffawun. You are being transferred. You are being taken to a new world. You are traveling. You are going from this place to another place. The Quran used this term. What did that mean? That means that we don't actually die. We don't come to an end. Yes, we taste death, but we move on. And it's not the first time that it's ever happened. It's happened before, that we move from one world to another world. So right now the believers are saying to the people who don't believe in this, when we die from this world, this is the third world we're in. The first world was alamul arwah. The first transfer was to the mother's womb. The second world was the mother's womb. The second transfer was to this dunya. The third world is this dunya. This is our third life. Guys, wake up. This is our third life we're living. And the third transfer is going to be to barzakh, a world trapped between here and the blowing of the horn. A world trapped between death and blowing of the horn. And we're saying to all the people who don't believe in this message, and I want to say today, there are Muslims who are weak in their faith, and there are Muslims who are now doubting the afterlife. There are Muslims who are saying, really? What about if we have reincarnation? What about if we go out there as a soul and come back to a stone, or we come back to another animal, or we come back to a leaf, or we come back to a tree? There are Muslims who have been affected by the belief of atheism. And they're saying, listen, we've never seen anyone come back. Have you ever seen anyone come back and tell you from the grave that he actually saw the other side, and he saw the angel of death, and he saw the world of angels, and there's a world beyond this? And we all say, all the believers saying no. And the unbelievers, the non-believers are saying to us, well, my friend, have told us, all the messengers, the Quran has told us that there is a life beyond this. And just like the twins, they deny one another's statements, the same way the believers and non-believers both will find themselves in barzakh once we leave. And if you don't want to believe in this, then you take a risk. And your risk is this, which is what was said in the palace of Fir'aun. Surah number 40, ayah number 28. That you, Fir'aun, and you, my courtiers, my friends, this was a man who had Iman in his heart, but he hid his Iman. And he said, إِن يَكُ كَاذِبًا فَعَلَيْهِ كَذِبُ. If Moses or Musa alayhi salam is a liar, then his lie will befall him. Suppose we believe in Musa's story that there's an afterlife. Suppose we believe in that. And then we die and there's nothing. Have we lost anything? No, we haven't lost anything. Have we lost anything? No, we haven't lost anything. But he said, وَإِن يَكُ صَادِقًا يُصِبُكُمْ بَعْضُ الَّذِي يَعِدُكُمْ. But if it turns out, then when we die, my courtiers, my friends, Fir'aun, when we die and we find out that Musa was right, then part of what he has said will befall us, and we will face the punishment for not believing in the message that he gave to us. Allahu Akbar. Now if you don't want to believe in any of this, whoever you are, and I understand this is a time of fitna, and there are a lot of Muslims out there, all out there, they're getting. When we die and we find out that Musa was right, then part of what he has said will befall us, and we will face the punishment for not believing in the message that he gave to us. Allahu Akbar. Now if you don't want to believe in any of this, whoever you are, and I understand this is a time of fitna, and there are a lot of Muslims out there, all out there, they're getting bombarded. Bombarded by who? Bombarded by trolls on Google. Trolls on Google. There's internet, some to these TV channels, there's Shia channels, there's other channels, I don't know what, Qadiani channels, and I don't know what else, and they come with a mind, they don't know what they're believing anymore. Human being, don't forget where you came from and where you're going. You did not come from your mother's womb. You did not come from your father's spine. You came from Alamul Arwah. And where are you going? You're not going just to another house or another home. You're not just going to the grave. You're going, ultimately, you're going to an entire world where you will be eternal. And Allah does not want us to forget that link. So He, by compulsion, He says, I'm not going to make you pray 5 times in one part of the day. I'm going to make you pray at one end Fajr and the other end Isha. In the middle there's going to be Asr, and both sides there's going to be Dhuhr, and there's going to be Maghrib on both sides. I want you to remember the 4th life is Barzakh, and the 5th is going to be Doomsday, and the 6th is going to be beyond that, Jannah or Jahannam. This is our 3rd life. We've already had 2 lives, and we're going on from here to the graveyard. Your car will go to the scrapyard and you will go to the graveyard. No matter how many cars have come to this earth, they've all gone to the scrapyard. No matter how many humans have come to this earth, they've all gone to the graveyard. So wake up. It's not a place to just live and live. It's a place to live and then die. Allah Azza wa Jal said to Adam alayhi salam when he was sent here as the first human being, He said, you will live here, تَحْيَوْنَ ثُمَّ تَمُوتُونَ, then you will die. And Allah said, ثُمَّ إِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ, then to Him, to Allah Azza wa Jal will your return be. The life of Barzakh, this is the 4th life. If I'm a good soul, I go to Illiyin. If I'm a bad soul, I go to Sijjin. Both mentioned in Surah Mutaffifin of the Quran. And what happens is a person, when they make this journey and they go there, the Prophet ﷺ has told us and he's given us good news about Illiyin. Allahu Akbar. May Allah make us of them. Say Ameen. Is in Illiyin, if their request has been accepted, they also come to Illiyin, and the two meet in that state. And this is so quick that it can happen like a blink of an eye. It can happen like a blink of an eye. That's how we see people who have passed away, and we meet them in our dreams. Allahu Akbar. So anyway, if you want, you might think, well, that's some people's dreams. Do we have anything physical? Some people say, where's the physical thing that for Barzakh and for the life beyond, the 4th life? Well, let me tell you this. There's been many individuals in the past that this has happened to, and it has happened again recently. With Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, when they buried his body in his grave in Russia, in Bukhara. In Russia, he was a Russian. His grave, there was a fragrance, a very strong fragrance of itr and of great fragrance of a nice smell coming, strong, so strong that they'd never smelled anything like this. So the people came to his grave straight after his janazah, and they took soil from his grave. They took it home. This was like a whole piece of soil that's got this fragrance. You could rub it on your hands, you could rub it on your body, on your skin, and you've got really nice fragrance. So people then flocked to his grave for 3 days. Every day they would take soil, hands full of soil. Same thing happened in the 70s when he passed away, and guess what? The same thing, like 3 days later, Allah took the fragrance away. And then 2014, this is going last year back. This is Allah showing us that the Barzakh is a real world. And it's a world where you will remain. Though the body stays underneath there, the soul travels to a place called Illiyin, but there's a connection between the two. And what happens is in this 4th life, we come up on the Day of Judgment. What does Allah do? Allah then makes the angel blow the horn, and all the souls in Illiyin are killed off. all that, meaning that they cease to exist. This is not a real death. This is like another type of death. Yes, it's a type of death, but we only taste a real death where the angel of death comes and takes our soul out of our body. We only feel that once. So this is another time that everybody is now going to get switched off. So Allah switches off all the Illiyin people, all the Sijjin people. He kills and he makes the end of life for all the people on the earth, and they all come to an end, and the whole world comes to an end, and Allah breaks everything that He ever created. He then takes it together, reshapes it, makes it flat, and then He brings my body back wherever it was, underneath the surface, and your body underneath the surface. He then brings the soul of Illiyin from Sijjin or Illiyin. He brings it into the body, and then He tells the angel to blow again. It blows again, and then that's when we wake up. This is now another new world. This is going to be the fifth world. This is going to be the fifth world, and a fourth transfer is we move, and our heads move the soil from above, and whatever it is, and we come out. We come out on the Day of Judgment. This is now every single human being, every jinn, every creation, every animal, every dinosaur, every single insect that Allah had created, all coming up on the Day of Judgment. Allah will make every living creature come on the Day of Judgment, and Allah will make all of them come together on one platform, one piece. Now this time there are things that are different.
Did to the mind of our protagonist, whose name was Tom. I was long thinking, can we define that creature as antagonist of the story? Actually, it's hard to do, because creature was presented to us as a caring and compassionate being. Despite its hideous appearance and the physical atmosphere of the real surroundings our hero faced. Was that creature a flesh-eating monster? Sure, it was a monster, but flesh-eating? No. Proof of that was intact bodies of the rest of the crew, but why hibernation pods were broken, who knows? Maybe it's something that is unexplainable, or just simple entropy. You could stick many theories. There was an act possible that it was consuming positive emotions on some unexplainable telepathic way, the way that is hard for us to imagine. Let's be fair, most of us do not even understand photosynthesis, yet plants somehow live from it. Possibly, in some fantastic way, it was living of emotions, particularly positive emotions of the lost souls. Something that is beneficial for the victim also, like symbiosis. Let's be real, every organism requires nutrition. What if hundreds of thousands of light years from Earth, there lives arachnid creature, unique life form that evolved creature was sucking on the heads of the victims. So creature found in the deepness of our protagonist's mind, his most positive or even sacred memory, that is love of the nearly forgotten fire, Greta, and shaped a prolonged positive dream that allowed the creature, a nearly inexhaustible source of positive emotions, to consume. Here is the part where sex comes into the game. That is obvious, you saw the episode, because it plays important part in the biology and physical needs and is greatest source of chemical reactions for serotonin and dopamine. Greta was cognitive component and perception of his other senses, taste, smell, touch and hearing, but all of that without neural connection to genitalia. Processes in Tom's limbic areas of the brain by the dream directed his behavior towards the sexual goal, which resulted in feelings of reward, a bouquet. For Tom, it was Greta, the positive base to build the dream, but for Susie had no place in the dream for Tom. Creature were not able to construct joint and mutual connection to incorporate Susie. Only thing that haunts me so long, what did Susie actually see in Greta? Why she was so upset? Because Susie recognized some sort of repetition in processes. These simulations. I'm sure Creature tried to create separate dream for Susie, and maybe Susie truly had her own dream. Creature even revealed that every soul gets his own dream, but for some reason Creature wanted them to be joined in one dream, one meal.
Modern histologists recognize two major cell types in the central nervous system: the electrically excitable neurons and the neuroglial cells, variously described as connective tissue cells, nutritive cells, or phagocytes. The term neuroglia was coined by Virchow in the 1850s. In this original illustration of a section of the brain, he describes neuroglia as the material between the cells and regarded it as a glue holding the neurons together. Between the middle of the 19th and 20th centuries, staining systems, mostly using salts of the heavy metals, particularly silver, were developed by Golgi, Ramon y Cajal, Del Rio Ortega, and many others. These were used to characterize different kinds of cells in the central nervous system by light microscopy. By the early 1920s, the currently accepted view had evolved that neuroglia was not a glue or a ground substance, but a tissue composed of three types of cell: astrocytes, oligodendrocytes, and microglia. Each type requires specialized staining systems for them to be seen. Astrocytes, illustrated here with drawings by Penfield, have long fibrous processes, often ending on capillaries. It is interesting to note that in the literature, actual photomicrographs of neuroglial cells are much rarer than diagrams or drawings of these cells. In fact, the literature offers no universal agreement on the cellular structure of the central nervous system. For example, here are some adjectives from authoritative publications used to describe neurons.
Perhaps the main reason for a lack of an agreed histological view is that our knowledge of the brain is so fragmentary. But there are other more practical difficulties contributing to the confusion. And it is important in this context to look at three areas in some detail. These can be discussed under the following headings.
This can be demonstrated by considering the solid geometry of an egg as a model of a large cell body and its nucleus. We can cut slices of the egg with the same relative thickness as a neurohistologist uses in preparing sections for staining. Here we see three eggs of the same size that have been sectioned along three different axes, resulting in a large variety of two-dimensional sizes and shapes, despite the uniformity of the uncut eggs. The more asymmetrical the cell body, the more different kinds of appearances would be seen. Quite clearly, one cannot describe the size, presence or position of the nucleus, nucleolus or mitochondria, or their shapes, without cutting serial sections. This difficulty is compounded if we are looking at cells like neurons that have processes. How can we be sure of the numbers and positions of axons or dendrites? If we are to distinguish between cell types on the basis of appearance, then having a clear understanding of their three-dimensional structure is even more critical. In the case of the central nervous system, this point is illustrated by these beautiful drawings of Peters, Paley and Webster, showing neurons, an oligodendrocyte, and an astrocyte. It is obvious that the external structure of the different cell types drawn by these distinguished neurohistologists would be interchangeable if any of these cells were rotated and viewed from a different angle. Secondly, any staining procedure alters cells considerably and distorts their organelles. These are two unfixed neurons isolated by hand dissection. You can see that they are fairly globular with large nuclei. Watch what happens as they are fixed and stained. This sequence was recorded in real time and then edited to reduce the overall running time on the screen. We may now compare the final appearance with the original appearance of the same cells.
Although most neurohistologists would agree on the identification of many cells on a particular slide, there might well be disagreement on some of the individual cells which could not be identified unequivocally. For example, phosphotungstic acid hematoxylin is said to stain astrocytes, but can we be certain whether these are neurons or astrocytes? Weil and Davenport stains microglia and oligodendroglia, but can we differentiate these two cell types here?
We approach this question in another way. We cut 5 serial sections of recognizable parts of rat brain and stained each with one of 5 specific stains. We then looked for cells which appeared in adjacent sections. Watch the position of the cells arrowed in these photomicrographs of the sections stained with hematoxylin and eosin, Marsland, Glees and Erickson, phosphotungstic acid hematoxylin, Weil and Davenport, and Gallias's stain. Having noted the number of cells appearing in adjacent sections, over 8% of cells stained with one so-called specific stain showed up with another. Another demonstration of this lack of specificity is that those most easily identifiable of neurons, the Purkinje cells in the cerebellum and the ventral horn cells in the spinal cord, show up with nearly all staining procedures. Here we see Purkinje cells stained by hematoxylin and eosin, cresal violet, phosphotungstic acid hematoxylin, and Palmgren's stain. Another example, ventral motor neurons of the spinal cord stained with hematoxylin and eosin, Del Rio-Ortega's stain, Golgi's stain, and cresal violet.
All these experiments lead to the conclusion that virtually all procedures, both general and those believed to be specific for neuroglial cells, also stain neurons quite clearly. In addition, the major part of the tissue is not stained by any procedure. This is contrary to the general view that, were it possible to get one section of central nervous tissue to take up all specific stains, it would appear stained almost completely and solidly. One must conclude that most of the central nervous system consists of a substance which does not contain any of the elements shown up by these staining procedures, despite the general belief that virtually the whole volume of the central nervous system is filled up with neurons, astrocytes, oligodendrocytes, microglia and ependymal cells. For example, Windle, an authority on neuroglia, said,
"There is no ground substance in the central nervous system, except in the thin basement laminae of capillaries, and the few places where connective tissue penetrates."
While Hahn, in his textbook of histology, tells us,
in fact, there is no connective tissue space in the brain.
Nauta and Viertag, in an issue of Scientific American devoted wholly to the brain, takes this further by stating,
"If all the neurons were stained, the tissue would appear black." The idea that the brain and spinal cord are solid with cells and their processes is generally believed to be supported by observations using electron microscopy. In this example, there appears to be only a small extracellular space between identifiable elements, although one must hasten to add that this view is largely a circular argument. It starts with the belief that the brain is full of cells and their processes, and then describes the appearances between the neurons as that of the particular kinds of neuroglia. The missing point here is the demonstration by light microscopy, by which the neuroglia were originally and specifically described, that the central nervous system is indeed largely packed by neurons and neuroglia cells.